Before this video starts, if you enjoy this video, there are many more like it already on the channel with many more like it to come in the future, so subscribe. I'm trying to hit 125,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I would really appreciate it. I upload 6 to 7 days a week on this channel, so if you're looking for some consistent basketball talk, this is the place for it. Also drop a like on this video, it only takes 1 second, it makes a massive difference. And actually go ahead and subscribe for reaction videos to every finals game, because I'm going to be doing that. This is the first one, obviously, as game 1 is actually still going down right now, but the Miami Heat are getting completely Actually, I'm pretty sure you just heard a bleep right there, because the last time I did a reaction video like this and it did well, I cursed at the start and I didn't make any money off of it. So I didn't say anything there, YouTube. So game 1 was obviously a huge blowout. The Lakers absolutely decimated the Miami Heat. And I took some notes during the game that kind of progressed to where it got to, so I'm just going to go over those real quick. First thing I found interesting right out of the gate was that Jay Crowder was guarding Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo was not. Now, the strategy that I think they're attempting to use is that Bam Adebayo is going to be used more as a help defender, and he's also going to be avoiding foul trouble because he's not guarding Davis one-on-one. And I don't know how to feel about that strategy. It seemed like it was working initially, but Anthony Davis ended up going off in this game, so clearly it's not the case. Even though I do think Bam is probably a little bit better as a help defender than one-on-one, and he did show that in the Bucks series because he actually didn't defend Giannis one-on-one all that much. It was mostly Crowder and then Bam came over on the weak side, but I really think they should put Bam on Anthony Davis one-on-one, and like if you get beat by a couple of cuts from like Alex Caruso and Markieff Morris, then it is what it is. I understand Bam is a great help defender, but right now you need him to be the one-on-one defender to give Anthony Davis problems. Even though he did give him problems at times, the fact that Jay Crowder was the guy initiating everything defensively gave Anthony Davis an advantage. So first adjustment I would make, because obviously the Heat need to make adjustments, I'd put Bam Adebayo on Anthony Davis. The Lakers were not great out of the gate. That's another thing that I wrote down here, but they got the lead back and eventually just stomped all over the Heat by turning up their defensive intensity. The Lakers are really at their best when they're trying the hardest on the defensive end, and I think they proved that in this game. Also, that early lead from the Heat didn't really matter because the Lakers are just simply a more talented team. And the way that the Heat need to overcome the talent is with coaching, good team play, and all that kind of stuff, contributions from players that aren't normally contributing all that much, and they didn't get really any of that today. Also, even though I do believe Erik Spoelstra is the best coach in the league, I really got to question why he had Derrick Jones Jr. and Solomon Hill in there. Both of those guys are pretty good defensively, and they're not guys who are going to make big mistakes, but neither of them are really shooters, and they're just simply better players to put out there. I don't think either of those guys are finals rotation players, especially not Solomon Hill. I don't know. Sometimes this is the thing with like some coaches that are really good, sometimes try to do like a 500 IQ move, and like it's like, dude, you don't. Just come on, keep it simple. It's like back when Greg Popovich subbed out Tim Duncan for Boris Diaw on the play where Chris Bosh got the offensive rebound and kicked it out to Ray Allen. Like sometimes a great coach thinks they're so great that they try to do something really smart, and it's like, dude, just don't play those guys. It's pretty simple. Also, I think the Lakers, even though they were still good with both Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard out there, I think they really like officially killed like two traditional big men being a thing, especially in the playoffs. They showed how good Anthony Davis is at center, how good the Lakers are when they're running a little bit smaller, how good they are when they have a non-traditional four out there. And I do think that two traditional big men, at least two that aren't really three-point shooters, even though Davis is pretty good at three-point shooting, but that's not his primary objective, I do think that that's been shown to be just not an effective strategy anymore. And the Lakers, who were a team that really were probably the team in the league that most went for that strategy, are backing away from it. So I do think that's an interesting development in the evolution of basketball. We're kind of seeing the nail in the coffin for that one for the Lakers. Also, I'm not one to complain about officiating, like pretty much ever. You don't see me doing that very often. Of course, one bad call here or there happens, and generally speaking, when I go on Twitter, I see fans of both teams bitching about the officiating, and really I just feel that both positions are biased, and they're strongly wanting one outcome over the other, so they're reading into things that they shouldn't really read into. But the officiating in this game was a little bit suspect at times, especially there was one play where LeBron got an offensive rebound, or I don't know if it was an offensive rebound or he picked up a deflection, but he went up for the shot, and I don't know who it was on his left, but he just pivoted his arm and like did that 2K animation where you just push your defender out of the way, and then he went up for the shot and got fouled. It's like, how is that not an offensive foul? Now, that's not to take away this win in any way from the Lakers, because the officials could have been on Miami's side and the Lakers still would have won this game the way it went, but I didn't like the officiating in this game. Also, on top of the big lead, I kind of felt like this game is over as soon as at half, after the missed layup from Kyle Kuzma on the break after the buzzer went off, LeBron went up and threw this reverse dunk offensive rebound up and got his head next to the rim like it was nothing, doing this after the shot clock expired, fully aware that it didn't count. So LeBron's just like, you know how when there's a dead ball in a game and you shoot a layup, LeBron's like, oh, let me do just something that 99.99999% of human beings will never dream of doing, just casually at 35 years old. What do you do about that, man? LeBron, he has it turned on, and he didn't have a great not an amazing box score game, but he played fine. It's just Anthony Davis was the one that was really killing the Heat. Also, a note that I made, and this is where it kind of went downward, I just said when the Lakers are hitting their three-pointers, they can't be guarded. And that's kind of been the case every time with the Lakers. When the Lakers are making their threes, it's a wrap. Now, I do think that says that the Heat have somewhat of a chance in this series because the Lakers are not consistent with their threes. So that could be an avenue for the Heat to play better in game 2 and even win this series, even though it's not looking good right now. And I ended up writing in here, Lakers are really good. Mercy rule. This is murder. And yeah, that pretty much summarizes the last, majority of this game. After the first quarter, essentially, it was just a massacre of epic proportions, and the Lakers just simply look like the way better team here. I do also have to mention there were some injuries on the part of the Miami Heat. Looks like Goran Dragic is not going to play for the rest of this series, which is a massive blow, because I'd honestly say he was their third best player, and that's huge, especially being that they're already at a mismatch in terms of talent. Jimmy Butler had some issues, and Bam Adebayo had some issues, both of those guys being the two best players on the Heat, so not amazing. And it's looking like their three best players, one of them is out, likely to be out the whole series. The other two are they don't seem like they're going to be missing games, but they're having struggles on that with injuries. So yeah, it's not looking up for Miami right now. But as for some adjustments that the Heat can make in order to turn this series around, first of all, not an adjustment, but you just need health to be on your side. Dragic being out is huge. I think you kind of have to turn to Kendrick Nunn here and say, dude, please be a scorer again. And hopefully he can do that. He was getting minutes later in the game and he played all right, but he hasn't been a rotation player thus far for a good reason, and they need him to fill that void. Hopefully he can do that a little bit. Obviously, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo need to be healthy. If they're out, series is over. Plain and simple. Tyler Hero's not going to single-handedly beat the Lakers. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I would put Bam on Anthony Davis one-on-one. I understand the value of Bam as a help defender, but the Lakers are really a team that's going to dominate you with their two superstars, and just having a good matchup on one of them makes a big difference. And having Jay Crowder on him is not really a good matchup, even if Bam is effective as a help defender. And even if Bam gets in foul trouble, if Anthony Davis is having a mediocre game because of it, it's still a positive, even if you take a hit on offense. For the offensive end, because defensively, I really think it was the Anthony Davis matchup that was the biggest thing, because they defended the three-point line all right. Problem was the Lakers just made the threes. So really, defensively, the Heat didn't do anything wrong except for their matchup against Anthony Davis. So just hope the Lakers are not hitting all of their threes after this and defend Anthony Davis with Bam Adebayo, and I think they have that end figured out. Offensively, it's weird because it didn't seem like the Heat played that bad on offense, but they also were not amazing. Like, they had them, I think the biggest difference between first quarter Heat and the rest of the game, and really first half of the first quarter Heat, was the ball movement was a lot better and they were getting open looks. And I think the Lakers turned up the defense, which made that harder, but the Heat have shown they're capable of creating good looks with their passing over and over again. but we did not see that in this game. So I don't know, the playmaking just has to be better. And guys like Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson need to be making 3-pointers because they're defensive liabilities. And the Lakers, also, I forgot to mention this, on defense, they targeted the shit out of those guys. And defensively for the Heat, you have to do your best to avoid those mismatches. Go over screens, go under them, whatever it takes to get around a switch. Because getting Tyler Hero on LeBron James is a basket or a foul pretty much 90% of the time. So you gotta prevent those mismatches, and then offensively, those guys have to hit their shots to make it worth putting them out there. Tyler Hero doesn't have to have 37 points, but he needs to have like 15 because he's a defensive liability, and he also wasn't playmaking in this game. So need more playmaking. Offensively, just simply need to make more shots, especially from their shooters. And outside of that, see, the thing is, I'm giving solutions here, and sure, they're gonna make a difference, but like, the Lakers are just a much better team, and it might get to the point where I'm not even doing a game reaction after each game. I'll probably do one game too, and whatever the last game of the series is, if it's just bad, like, or I guess if it's a sweep, I'll do a reaction after game 4 to the Lakers winning. But right now, it does not look good for the Heat, and their back is against the wall. Now, the coaching on that team is great. The leadership on that team is great. Just the overall culture is great. And if there's any team that I'm going to believe in with their back against the wall, well, it's the Denver Nuggets. But now, in the case of the Miami Heat, you really need to push through this because it's just simply the Lakers have been better, and you need to work around that. You need to be better in ways outside of talent, and they were not that in this game. So that is why the Lakers destroyed the Miami Heat in game 1. Check back for game 2 when that comes out. Also, tomorrow there's going to be a video on what I believe the Clippers should do to retool in order to win a championship in 2021. So be sure to be here for that. That is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.